Hi everyone, this is Marlene Dodge. In this module, we're to explain how our district communicates both internally and externally within the district, as well as with various organizations and community members. To create this chart, I used Creately. It was fairly easy to figure out, and it had a lot of templates that were well suited for this diagram. I feel like my chart's fairly simple, with the left column showing internal communication within the district and the right column showing the external communication with the various community entities. Our district consists of Hickok Elementary, which is pre-K through second grade, Sullivan Elementary, which is third grade through fifth grade, Kepley Middle School, which is sixth through eighth grade, and then Ulysses High School, which is 9th through 12th. When looking at the chart, I placed pictures that described each of the internal or external communications. Some of these pictures are directly from places within our community, or for instance, our superintendent, David Younger, that's a picture of him. So starting with the school board, our school board, I feel like could be internal and external communication based on the fact that our school board members are connected to the community through their various jobs that they hold. However, I put it with internal communication because of how closely they work with our schools. So one of the things I wanted to touch on is the fact that our meetings are now live streamed on Facebook through our district website. This has increased our participation in our school board meetings a great deal. It's something that they plan to continue even after COVID-19 hopefully has run its course, which is sooner than later. We also have our meeting agendas and our minutes that are posted on our district website. Our superintendent, he attends the Board of Education meetings, as well as meetings and events with government officials. He relays that information back to teachers and administrators. Each year, our superintendent opens our district in-service with a speech. Most of the time, it's to get everybody pumped up for the new year. He also frequently sends out district emails. One of the things that I do think that he could improve on, which a lot of superintendents in schools are doing, is either like a superintendent blog or some kind of video where he would come out maybe on a weekly basis to let people know what's going on, or maybe a monthly basis. Our administrators, they report to the Board of Education each month. They also lead our staff meetings on a monthly basis. They communicate through our school website over Twitter and Facebook. I think each of our principals for the schools do that very well. Our principal at Ulysses High School, he loves Twitter, and he's really good about posting articles and information to improve teaching through his articles that he finds on Twitter. They update our Facebook page on our district website pretty frequently with pictures or events that have happened at our school. They also use our district Google Calendar to schedule events and keep everybody up to date on meetings and sporting events and anything that may be coming up. They're very good at, all the principals and administrators, at keeping that calendar updated. We also use Remind. We use that with teachers. We use that with students and parents. And it's been very beneficial to keep everybody up to date with everything. Our DLT meetings, our district leadership team meetings, they're monthly with the superintendent, principals, and teacher representatives from each of our schools. The DLT is focused a great deal on KISA and how we're going to meet our KISA goals that have been set for this year. That filters into our BLT meeting, which also meets monthly to build on KISA goals. The building leadership team also works on school-wide proposals, and then they further take that information. Each of the teachers, representatives from each of the areas, take that to their PLC group, and then we are able to discuss BLT meeting agenda items with our PLC groups and further help make decisions for the school. Teachers on they have monthly faculty and PLC meetings, which I mentioned already. They also communicate with parents in numerous ways through email, text, phone calls. One of the things I think we're finding to be incredibly beneficial are Google Meetings and Zoom meetings. It's a really neat way to be able to get in touch with teachers or with parents and with students. Google Classroom platform is used for most student assignments at Ulysses High School. Kepley Middle School is using it a lot more, and Sullivan is trying to incorporate Google Classroom more to get kids used to that platform because of how much it's used in the upper grades. Students, they're able to respond to Google Forms and Google surveys from principals, counselors, and teachers. Students also communicate through student council, and they serve as class officers to make decisions for each of their classes. There's another neat thing that we started a couple years ago, which is a t-shirt business class. It started out to where they did t-shirts for clubs and sports within our school, and now it's extended to where they take orders from different community members and businesses, and it's pretty neat how much communication students have been able to make with outside organizations through this class. Moving over to external communication, I think at the top of that is government officials. Our superintendent, again, is in communication with them pretty frequently, as well as our school board, to figure out different legislature and financial information that has come through. That's done either written, orally, or through different technology means. City officials, I think that's when we really get a lot of communication going, and oftentimes the superintendent does that communication over the phone or face-to-face, especially when we're dealing with bond issues and proposals to gain more financial help from our community. Parents and families, we're working to communicate better with them through Google surveys. We are doing these on a weekly basis to find out how continuous learning is going on. One of the drawbacks of that is we are not getting even close to 100% of the surveys back. And so one of the things that they are having to do is when we are not getting surveys back and we still have students that are struggling with this continuous learning, that the principals and teachers are making phone calls to families and reaching out to get that two-way communication. We have parent-teacher meetings that families attend, open houses at the start of the year, and we're going to start those even at the high school level. We haven't had those for years, and we're going to start having open houses at the beginning of the year again. Again, two-way communication with parents and families, that's become a must, especially with KISA goals. PTO and Big Orange Boosters, they work very closely with our athletic directors, our principals, assistant principals. A lot of that communication happens between phone calls and in-person meetings. Compass Behavior Health, we are working closer and closer with them each year, especially with the emphasis on helping kids to cope and deal with bullying and trauma and any kind of depression issues that a lot of students deal with. There's a lot of our students that have caseworkers, and they communicate with the school to figure out times that would work best to come into the school and be able to work with students. That happens a lot of times either through phone calls or through personal communication, face-to-face. Our churches and businesses, they do an awful lot of work for our schools. We set up work studies and job shadow programs with numerous businesses throughout the community. Community service opportunities are also widely available to students. I have found that when I'm setting up work study, opportunities for students, the best way to go about that is face to face. I have completely eliminated phone calls when setting those up because I find that businesses are so much more willing to work with you when you are standing in front of them. And I think you can I can put my work study program out there in a way that I wouldn't ever be able to do over the phone. Sponsorship, our students oftentimes go out and they, especially yearbook, they look for sponsors within the community. Our yearbook teacher, she strongly advises students to go out and get that sponsorship through face-to-face communication. At times, phone calls are made as well as written communication, but again, we stress the face-to-face communication. High Plains Education Cooperative, I do have that as an external communication. That could kind of fall into internal communication, but where it's a co-op and it isn't directly part of USD 214, I have left it as external communication. I work for High Plains Co-op Education or Educational Cooperative. Our directors, they communicate at Board of Education meetings in our district, as well as other districts throughout Southwest Kansas. They do numerous in-person and phone calls with administration and superintendents, as well as written and oral communication with parents and students, especially with parents. And then last, we have our media, which we do an awful lot of communication with them. Again, it's done different methods. Our newspaper, a lot of it is done in person. Some of it's done with emails or written. Students at our schools, they write articles frequently for the newspapers that are published. Same thing with our local radio station. They do numerous in-person in the radio station in-person interviews, whether it's with administration and oftentimes they pull students into the recording studio to talk about sports or to talk about plays that are coming up. And they also take an awful lot of written communication from us to announce over Cooley to get information out to the community. So ultimately, this is our communication that we're looking at within Ulysses 214 School District. Thank you very much.